I've bootstrapped 3 SaaS companies to over 35 million in combined ARR, Robly email marketing to an 8-figure exit, retention.com to 23 million ARR, and our B2B to 7 million ARR in under 2 years. But the truth is, the average founder has less than a 10% chance of succeeding, while the world-class founders succeed over 50% of the time. That gap exists because most founders are doing everything in the wrong order. So in this course, I'm going to give you the complete playbook that closes that gap, the same frameworks and tactics I've used to build 3 successful SaaS companies. In the first part of this course, I'll talk about how you go from absolute 0 to 1 million in ARR. And then in the second part of the course, I'll cover how to go from 1 million ARR to 10 million ARR. Enjoy. "90% of startups fail." Imagine this. Every founder out there fired up about their brilliant product idea dives headfirst into building a company, convinced they've got the next big thing. 90% of them are going to fall flat on their faces. That's right, almost all of them. Think about what that means for a second. That's why you're in this course, right? Here's the deal. These numbers don't apply to everyone. World-class founders succeed 50% of the time they start a startup or even more. In this course, I'm going to teach you the proven frameworks that got me into that founder group using my own personal experience, having started 3 startups myself. Number 1, Robly email marketing, which I bootstrapped to 3 million ARR and exited for 8 figures to private equity. Number 2 is retention.com, which I bootstrapped to 23 million ARR and still own. And our B2B, which I recently started and went from 0 to 3 million ARR in just 6 months. I've also watched my friends and coworkers who built companies like ZoomInfo, Apollo.io, Vimeo, Jasper AI, and Chili Piper build their companies with staggeringly high rates of success, all because they applied the framework that I'm going to teach you today. Once you've got the framework down, you'll be in a much stronger position to take your own startup to 1 million ARR and beyond. World-class founders are over 5 times more successful going 0 to 1 than the average founder. I call this massive difference the elite founders gap. My purpose? To help you close that elite founder gap so that your startup isn't one of these startups that fails. So what's the biggest difference between the average founder and the elite founder? Elite founders take all of the same steps as the average founders, but they do them in a very different order. The average founder comes up with an idea, builds way too much product, and then tries to find buyers, mostly through one-to-many growth hacking tactics. Elite founders do exactly the opposite. Number 1, they find their buyers before they start building. They sell prospects on their idea as though the product actually exists and get real feedback about whether their idea is even worth pursuing. Number 2, they hardly build anything. Elite founders are ruthless in prioritizing the absolute leanest version of their product, called the minimum viable product, or MVP. Number 3, they toss out the idea of growth hacking and go all in on the gritty hands-on work. Elite founders understand that the journey from 0 to 1 is a very manual 1-to-1 process. It revolves entirely around speaking to as many users as possible, creating feedback loops, and iterating on the product quickly. Elite founders know this is the only way to achieve product market fit. They also know that without product market fit, growth hacking won't even work in the first place. Or even worse, it'll work just enough to give you a false sense of hope, tricking you into pouring time and money into something that's just not quite ready to grow yet. Before we dive into the course, let me set the stage for you. In lesson 1, we're going to zero in on the single biggest reason 90% of startups fail completely. Yep, there's just one major reason. It's absolutely critical that you understand this, because if you don't, nothing else I teach you will matter. In lesson 2, I'm going to teach you my 4-part sell before you build 0 to 1 million ARR framework. In lesson 3, I'm going to give you the tactics to put into this framework so that you'll have a fully functional playbook for becoming an elite founder. And as a bonus, in lesson 4, we're going to go over the 7 self-defeating errors that the average founder makes that no elite founder would ever commit. After lesson 4, you'll be one of the wiser founders who knows never to do any of those things. I am Adam Robinson, serial entrepreneur and founder and CEO of retention.com and our B2B, and this is my course, 0 to 1 million ARR SaaS Secrets. Now let's dig in. Startups are hard, but they're nowhere near as hard as the 90% fail stat implies. So why do so few founders fail to get their companies off the ground? Let me take you back to 2012 when I was starting my first startup. I was 32 years old, and having worked on Wall Street for 10 years, I had zero relevant startup experience. My plan was to build an email marketing platform. I went about it in the way that most first-time founders do, that almost always leads to failure. Number one, we started developing a product in mid-2012 that was a near replica of the industry leader called MailChimp, which I'm now embarrassed to say we even did. Number two, it took 18 months to build because we thought we needed 85% of their features before we could launch the product. And then number three, during that time, I spoke to zero potential customers. Instead, I sat around and waited for the product to be done. Number four, when the product was ready in January 14, we then started trying to find customers. As an illustration of how delusional I was, we had modeled out 800 paying customers at $15 a month for month one. And as month one closed, we had 10 paying customers. This business could have, and probably should have, ended up in the startup graveyard with the 90% of startups that fail. But luckily, by some act of God, a few months in, we figured out that we could crawl the internet looking for sign-up widgets from all of the other major vendors, like Constant Contact, iContact, and MailChimp. This showed us which companies were customers of those other vendors. We could then make those companies a 50% more opens for half of the price offer, and that got us to 3 million ARR. That growth hack was a stroke of luck, and it was the only reason the business survived. But it barely survived. Why? Because it was my first company and I wasn't an elite founder yet. I didn't speak to anyone before we launched, and I growth hacked way too early. I ended up trying to scale a business that was not good enough to scale yet. As a result, we topped out at 3 million ARR and we shrunk at 0.5% per month for the next several years. That is a miserable situation to be in the middle of, and with what I know now, I would have found my way out of it much quicker. With the experience I've gained since that time, including being stuck for 4 years in that business with no revenue growth, I understand the principles that were at play and the reasons that we were stuck. We'll dive into those later, but until then, trust me on this, growth hacking too early will give you a mediocre business at best. So let me tell you about the moment that started opening my eyes to how this all really works. Around the time I was starting Robly email marketing, I got introduced to a guy named Henrik, co-founder of BarkBox, by my roommate who was in tech. We met at the Soho Grand Hotel, and I clearly remember he showed me this website with dogs on it that he was about to launch, and I didn't think much of it. 3 years later, my roommate told me that BarkBox had over 100,000 monthly subscribers at $30 a month. This stabbed me directly in the heart, because 3 years into Robly, we had a meager 2,500 monthly subscribers at the same price. I tracked Henrik down again and told him that I was dumbfounded by the growth and asked him what he thought was responsible for it. He told me something I'll never forget. He walked around Washington Square Park in Manhattan, showing people a Photoshop mock-up of a website on his iPhone. Here's the crazy part. He actually sold, meaning he swiped people's credit cards with the Square app, 50 $30 subscriptions for a box of monthly dog toys. Think about that. They did not even have a website. They did not have a product or employees or an office. They had spent a total of $0 and hardly any time. They got 50 people to give them money. This is how elite founders get their startups to succeed more than 50% of the time. Elite founders do not start developing anything before they have buyers of what they're about to build. In doing so, this eliminates a huge portion of the risk that leads to the 90% failure rate. After hearing that story, from that day forward, I decided that this would be the way that I would start startups. The result? It's 2024 and I've bootstrapped Retention.com to 22 million ARR in 4 years, and our B2B is just 6 months in and it's already at 3 million ARR. Henrik's method works. Before we dive into exactly how you can use my proven sell before you buy framework in your business, let's talk about the reasons why building a product before you try to sell it doesn't work, especially in B2B SaaS. There are 3 major problems with building products before you know you have buyers of what you're building. The first problem is that human intuition is a horrible indicator of market viability, meaning Most of the time, we just don't know what our prospects want, even though we think we do. Usually when we build something, we find out that people either want something different or want to use it in a different way to solve a different problem than we previously imagined. The second problem is that very few people will be honest with you about your idea. People have a bias to be nice, if for no other reason than to end the conversation with you sooner because they don't actually care about what you're building. The single best way to figure out if someone actually likes your idea is get them to hand you money. Even $1 is an incredibly powerful sign, so much more powerful than words themselves. The third issue is that software is incredibly slow and expensive to build. Before I vowed to only start startups using my sell before you buy framework, in an attempt to get Robly unstuck, we spent a year building an entirely new email marketing application to target users in the market segment above MailChimp. Again, we didn't talk to anyone as we were building, and when it came time to launch the product, we went to a trade show and pulled off a big stunt. It turns out that people's eyes glazed over when we spoke about the email marketing application, because as we learned, around 10 other vendors were already filling the hole that we thought we were filling. We spent over $1 million building that software and ended up literally deleting the code and moving on. Had we not already created another positive cash flow business that was funding this, my shrinking email marketing business that I talked about earlier, this would have marked the end of my startup career and I would have been back working for the man. After that first day of the trade show, I had no idea what to do. I remember laying in bed that night and telling my wife, we're screwed. We just spent $1 million on this and literally nobody cares. This framework kicks off by showing you how to know exactly what your customers want before you spend a single dollar to write a single line of code. Step one is the attention grab and the pre-sale. We're going to give you the backroom strategies and tactics about how to reach out to your prospects, grab their attention, and try to get them to actually pay you before you build anything. Step two is the MVP. We'll go through how to build a true minimum viable product and create a customer feedback loop. Step three, do things that don't scale. I'll teach you how to forget growth hacking and how to start hundreds of one-on-one conversations in order to achieve product market fit. And step four is growing the right way. The last part of the framework is how to get your customers, rather than investors, to fund your growth from 0 to 1 million ARR. Pay attention. This framework will help you dodge the $1 million mistake that cost me a full year of my life. So back to this trade show I just told you about in the last module, the one where we launched our MailChimp killer and absolutely no one cared about it. I'm not one to stay beaten down for long, so despite feeling utterly deflated, I decided to try something new. Previous to this trade show, in a conversation, I learned that it was technically possible to identify an individual visitor to a website, even if they didn't fill out a form. I was fascinated by this idea, so whenever people's eyes glazed over when I talked about the email marketing app, the rest of the trade show, I said the following line. What if I could get you email addresses of people on your website who didn't even fill out a form? I said that sentence to 100 people and 100 people's eyes lit up. They asked if it was out yet. They asked where they could buy it. I said I was building it, but I'd reach out to them as soon as it was in beta. I took their business cards and I started down the rabbit hole of figuring out how to build that tech. Let me reemphasize, at that moment, and for 6 entire months after, I had no idea how to even build the technology that I was talking to people about. What I just described to you is the single most valuable lesson in entrepreneurship that I've ever learned, and it's the most valuable thing that I can give to you. That process is what I now call the sell before you buy framework. 12 months later, we had the product. Those contacts from the trade show, along with the customer base of my first startup, Robly, were the initial beta testers. When we launched a new company with that product, it went from 0 to 1 million ARR in just 27 weeks. And in 2024, it's 22 million ARR bootstrapped just 4 years later. All elite founders follow some version of my 4-step sell before you buy 0 to 1 million ARR framework. In order to find your beta testers and early adopters, you'll need to create a sizzling one-liner and get their attention to get them on a 15-minute call. You'll then give them your 5-minute quick pitch, and you'll make them a killer offer to try to get them to pay you something for your solution. If they refuse to buy, you still need to get them to use your product. Get them to agree to give you regular feedback in exchange for a free subscription for some period of time. Once you get as many people as possible on board, 10 to 20 minimum, then it's time to start building. Alternatively, you can approach this how Alina Vandenberg approached it when she was pre-revenue at her now 30 million ARR startup Chili Piper. She went to every single B2B meetup in the New York City area. She observed who the most connected people in the room were and approached them with a notepad that had a drawing of her original vision of Chili Piper on it. And this was Alina's version of the quick pitch. She asked the influencers if they would buy something like her drawing, and if not, what would have to change about it in order for them to buy it. Whether you do it in the physical or virtual world, this part of the process is an absolute requirement to become an elite founder and succeed over 50% of the time you start. Here's a list of the different types of questions you might ask people who you speak to about your product. Do you understand the problem I'm trying to solve? Do you have the problem I'm trying to solve? How are you solving this problem today? Would you pay for the solution as I'm describing it if I could get it to you tomorrow? What else would this solution have to do in order for you to pay for it? I'm thinking of charging $100 a month. Would you pay that price? In March of 2024, I launched a new company called RB2B. However, the real work started in October 2023. We started manually onboarding beta testers by hand, sending them a pixel over email, and then sending a daily spreadsheet also via email. We did this for 5 full months before we even put up a website. We could have built tools to automate all that, but we didn't. Doing this manually allowed us to talk to customers more often and be closer to them as they onboarded and used our product. This allowed us to learn things that we never would have learned had we automated everything, and allowed us to get our product into the hands of customers months earlier than we would have otherwise. During the 6 months of RB2B pre-launch beta testing, our team had over 300 discovery calls with prospects. Had we taken the easy route and created automated processes to scale first, I don't believe we would have achieved the insane growth that we saw throughout 2024, which included going from 0 to 1 million in just 16 weeks. So, to do this yourself, here's what you do. MVP step 1, build as little as possible, as quickly as possible to get your product into users' hands. You must be ruthless about keeping your product as simple and as lean as you can at this point. Look, I get it. You're in meetings, deep in the weeds, talking about building some important feature, and you think that without it, your product is just embarrassing. You got to snap out of it. Don't sink any time and money developing unnecessary features. Instead, find a way to do what you need to do manually, but do it right now. Even if it's inefficient, clunky, and feels like a time suck, you'll save yourself a ton of cash when you realize it's not actually what your prospects want, and therefore you shouldn't build it. Again, be ruthless about keeping dev costs low. Only build it when you know you've nailed it. MVP step 2, focus on the smallest possible niche. When Nathan Barry launched ConvertKit in 2014, and it's now 2024 and it's 40 million ARR bootstrapped, he didn't just launch an email marketing tool for everybody. He thought the tool would be great for bloggers, but he didn't stop there in the beginning. He started ConvertKit by saying it was an email marketing tool for food bloggers. After getting a few influential food bloggers on ConvertKit, it was very easy to reach out to other food bloggers. He said he created a tool that was only for food bloggers, and the 3 most famous food bloggers had already switched from MailChimp. After he won the food blogger space, over the years, he's expanded into other niches, and now they're the email marketing tool for all creators. But Nathan Barry started with a super tight niche. The alternative is deadly for startups. If ConvertKit was an email marketing tool for everybody out of the gates, and Nathan happened to reach out to famous food bloggers, they would not have immediately identified that this tool was for them. And not only would they have not switched, that would have been a horrible foundation for building a business that was going to grow quickly. Look at the users you signed up for your beta. They're probably somewhat similar, but if you're serious about growing, you'll want to narrow it down even further. Some of them won't make the cut, that's fine. You don't have to kick them out, but you do need to focus your energy on serving your target niche. That is how to get a product that people love and not just tolerate. MVP step 3, set up automated outreach to get feedback. You need to set up a machine that will constantly supply you with valuable customer feedback. You're going to automate outreach eventually, but here's the thing. Before you even think about automating anything, run an onboarding call with each user. Yep, I know. It's boring, it's repetitive, it's something you'll eventually want to ditch. But guess what? This is where all of the value is. This will give you immediate insights, and it'll set up the relationship for you to get an ongoing feedback machine in the future. Do not automate this part. Get these people going yourself on a Zoom call, or if they're close, do it in person, which is even better. Once that call is done, you can set up an automated email sequence to gather feedback. Use a simple template like this. Hey, their name, just checking in on whatever your application is. How's the product going? Are you seeing whatever value you're trying to deliver? Now here's the kicker. Use your favorite AI tool to whip up 4 to 6 variations of this message and schedule them to go out over the next 8 to 12 weeks. No fancy email platform? No problem. Use Boomerang, Gmass, or yet another mail merge to handle this straight from your Gmail account. MVP step 4. Iterate your product, get more people to pay you, and try to get referrals from happy customers. Don't even think about building everything your beta testers suggest. You'll run out of time, money, and sanity. Plus, let's be real. Some of these features are game changers for your market, and others are just noise. You decide what to build using this simple process. Write down all the feedback in a feature request Google Sheet. Record the value of the users who requested the feature in one column and the frequency of the requests in the second, then the estimated time that it will take you to build it in the third. Look at that sheet every 2 weeks and decide what to build next. It's literally just a prioritization exercise, weighing those 3 variables. It's a bit art and a bit science, but the key is simple. Don't squirrel and deviate from your plan. MVP step 5, keep your eyes open for magic moments. Magic moments are when unicorns are born. During every single interaction you have with your customers, look for overjoyed facial expressions or email responses. This is the golden nugget that tells you to keep digging deeper right where you're digging. With our B2B, people were saying, "This is nuts. I can't believe this. This feels like I'm cheating or something." That's how we knew that we could grow this product very quickly. Other examples to look for: people try to pay you for a product that you deem not even close to something you could sell. Your service could go down, or the product gets taken away, and people get very desperate and ask you how to get it back. Or to say it a different way, a very important question to ask yourself, which will have a major impact on how the rest of your journey will go, is the following. If I took my product away from my users, how upset would they get? The more upset they get, the more fun you're going to have with the 1 to 10 million ARR stage. The less upset they get, the more of a grind your whole life is going to be. The key is staying tiny until you get to the point where people would be infuriated if you took the product away. MVP step 6, keep adding new beta users. You are still very manually adding users. Your goal is to get to at least 25 to 50 paying users during this phase. You can add new users by asking for referrals. This will be the most effective and the best indicator. Posting on social media, work in public if you can. Getting on relevant podcasts. You can use matchmaker.fm to get matched with podcast owners. Commenting on relevant influencers' social posts, but don't pitch them. Connect with people on LinkedIn and send messages seeking advice and feedback. Go to industry events, find influencers, ask them if they would buy what you're building, then find out if they wouldn't, why they wouldn't. Send emails to prospects in your target market asking them for feedback. Go through your friends and colleagues' connections on LinkedIn to see if any fall in your ideal customer profile. And if they do, ask for introductions. If you have investors, ask them if they know anyone who meets your ideal customer profile. Product market fit will determine the fate of your startup. Product market fit is when you provide the perfect product to the perfect group of buyers at the perfect time. It's very difficult to achieve, but when it clicks, it is magical. If you have killer product market fit, you'll have a massive company. If you have weak product market fit, you'll have a decades-long grind where you're barely squeaking by. Product market fit takes longer than you think, but it is up to you. You can find it. If you get impatient here, you'll doom yourself to a mediocre business and future. A big mistake people make as they bring on more paying customers is they think it's time to start doing one-to-many growth hacking type activities, and it's not. None of that will work anyway until you have strong word of mouth, which you just don't have yet. 0 to 1 million is all about face-to-face conversations between you and people who are using your product, listening to what they say, and improving your product's weaknesses. Product market fit rule number 1, do things that don't scale only until you have PMF. Nothing will work if you don't have product market fit. Everything will work if you do have product market fit. Until you have verifiable product market fit, do not run ads. Do not do SEO work. Do not work with influencers. Do not seek out user-generated content. Do not build a partnerships program. Do not work with affiliates. Do not get on Product Hunt. Do not sponsor newsletters. Only do manual things and have one-to-one conversations until you have product market fit, and keep improving your product. Product market fit rule number 2. Very strong word of mouth and high customer retention equals product market fit. If you did nothing, you would see exponential organic growth in your business. Another sign is that people are enduring a horrible user experience but say they love your product. An example of this is the first version of retention.com. It was actually a feature in Robly, our email marketing tool. People were using the identity feature, downloading it, uploading it to Klaviyo, and telling us they couldn't live without it. That is a sign of very strong product market fit. And keep in mind, people that are willing to prepay for things or a product they don't have yet is another great sign. If it feels like the market's pulling product out of you instead of you pushing product into the market, that's another great sign. If your customers would be livid if you took the product away or cash is piling up in your bank account, those are 2 other very strong signs of product market fit. Product market fit rule number 3, become ramen profitable. If you can get your business to where the founders can survive on ramen, then you control your own destiny because you don't need investors. The longer you stay in this phase, the more effective growth hacking will become when the time comes. Product market fit pro tip, be different in a way that matters. I made the mistake of thinking the same but cheaper was a good value proposition. It's not. The same but cheaper will get you 3 to 5% of someone else's business. Better but cheaper can completely annihilate an incumbent, but you have to be 10 times better or 10 times cheaper. Better, cheaper, and really different in some way is the best combo. Same but free is another way to do it, but you have to have a freemium model that funds your free offer. That's how MailChimp ended up getting acquired for $12 billion with 0 external funding. Focusing on a feature set for a niche that a larger incumbent can't copy is also a fabulous way to achieve product market fit. Growth funding rule number 1, which is also a hot take. Do not hire anybody before 1 million ARR, co-founders only. Keep your personal expenses as low as possible and achieve ramen profitability as soon as you can, because then you control your own destiny. One founder builds the product, the other founder does all of the sales, marketing, and customer success. This will simplify everything dramatically, and it will give you a much better feel for what your customers actually want and need. If you follow this advice, you will not need capital beyond your seed. Your customers will be funding your growth. Why is this a hot take? Because for so many years, VCs have been offering the self-serving advice to founders that they should leverage their businesses to grow as fast as possible. That's great for the VCs, but very bad for the founders. Klaviyo had the discipline to grow with customer funding. The 2 co-founders did not hire another person until they were past 1 million ARR. What happened? They raised $500 million, but didn't even spend it. They were in a break-even business all the way to 500 million ARR, and they IPO'd in 2023 at over a $9 billion valuation. Here's another example. The Jolie team sells shower heads, and physical products are much harder than software. And they got to a 50 million run rate with just 3 full-time employees. This is the future model for all startups. It's the opposite of the VC-funded playbook that wastes everybody's money in service of a return for investors. Growth funding rule number 2, focus on recovering customer acquisition costs as fast as possible in the beginning. One of the greatest bootstrapping success stories in SaaS is Russell Brunson's company, ClickFunnels. Russell was doing a weekly webinar and spending $3,000 to drive traffic to it. On the webinar, he sold a 6-month subscription to ClickFunnels bundled with some training courses. Before long, he was reaping in $50,000 in upfront subscriptions every week. He achieved a negative customer acquisition cost within days, if not hours, of spending that ad money. Another example, I ran Facebook ads to get retention.com off the ground in 2020. They brought in horrible long-term customers, but every week or two, a whale would come in for $5,000 a month and pay back the ad spend. I knew it wouldn't be forever, but for a while it was creating incredible awareness, which was helping our cold email and our word of mouth efforts. I still have people today come up to me and say they remember those ads that my wife and I did in 2020. Growth funding rule number 3, do low-cost experiments to identify the 2 to 3 channels that have the potential to take you from 1 to 10 million ARR. Where do your prospects live? Is it LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube? What channels work to reach them where they live? Is it organic social, paid social, YouTube, guest slots of podcasts? Maybe it's cold email, or affiliates or partnerships. How about live or virtual events? As you run these experiments, always favor the 0 to low upfront cash channels. Once you see a leader, double down, nail it, then find the next one. Growth funding rule number 4, build an inbound let outbound model. Inbound let outbound is hands down one of the most powerful growth tools you've got. That's why I made it growth funding rule number 4. It's not just effective, it's one of the most economical ways to scale your business. Here's why. It slashes your cost of sales. You'll get the same or better results with a much smaller team spending way less time. Everyone wants inbound leads, but the real game changer in this playbook, it's our B2B's ability to identify the people who land on your site without filling out a form. Without our B2B, you're stuck with 2 bad options. Number 1, you don't even know they were there and you miss a chance to sell them entirely. Number 2, you only get a company name if you're lucky. And for that, you'll need an expensive tool that tells you that somebody from Microsoft was on your site. Super helpful, right? Now, I have a full course on inbound let outbound, so I won't go deep here, but the basic process looks like this. Drive traffic to your site with 1 to 2 of the above channels. Identify them with our B2B. Once you've installed it on your site, which takes less than 5 minutes, our B2B will Slack you whenever it identifies someone who is on your site. Filter by your ideal customer profile so that you only reach out to the highest value prospects. Find someone who can give you a referral or intro if possible. Then reach out to website visitors with either a LinkedIn Connect with a message like this, or a warm outbound email message like this. Growth funding rule number 5, talk to every single churn customer. In this early phase, make people talk to you before they cancel their subscription. Yep, I know it sounds harsh, but it's not. Plenty of companies do this, and the insights that you gain are absolutely priceless. Now, if you're feeling a little uneasy about putting up barriers, here's a tip. Make it clear that they can cancel without a fight. You just want to learn from their experience. You could offer an incentive, but honestly, I wouldn't. Growth funding rule number 6, have incredible customer support for your early adopters. Go above and beyond to wow them. They're literally the foundation for your business and the life you want to build for yourself. They will be the lifeblood of your 1 to 10 million ARR journey. Pro tip, if they have big and relevant audiences, give them the product for free. Once you hit 1 million ARR, that's when you start thinking about bringing on 1 to 2 people. Maybe someone in support, maybe a salesperson if demos are eating up your time and you need to focus more on growth. Who you hire depends on your strength and what your company looks like right now. The goal, get to 10 million ARR with no more than 10 employees, and I've just handed you the playbook to make that happen. Getting to 1 million ARR is not a matter of if. When you stick to these rules I've given you here in lesson 2, it's only a matter of when. It may not happen overnight. It may not even be with this current product or company you're working on. But as you master the skills and processes I've laid out for you, you will become the quality of entrepreneur who doesn't just hit 1 million, but takes it all the way to 10 million and beyond. I dive deep into this next stage of growth in my course, 1 to 10 Million Secrets, so be sure to check it out for a full breakdown of that part of the journey. Okay, I've just given you the proven sell before you buy $0 to $1 million framework. The framework is the overarching strategy for getting you to your first 1 million ARR. Here in lesson 3, we're going to get into the gritty tactics that you put inside the sell before you buy $0 to $1 million framework. Remember, in the sell before you buy framework, Phase 1 is to find your early adopters. So you have your idea that solves a painful problem. Now, you need to find your first 10 customers before you start building anything. How do you do that? Well, you need to talk to people in your target market so you can get feedback to try to sell them. But first, you need to be prepared with what you're going to say when you do. You'll need a sizzling one-liner and a quick pitch. Let's address something I know some of you might be wondering right now. Some of you are right here with me. You're ready to go out, get your first 10 customers, and you haven't built a single thing yet. But I know some of you are thinking, what if I'm already at 250K ARR or 500K? If you've already got a business, already built a product, but you don't yet have the kind of product market fit that we talked about in lesson 2, meaning you're not seeing exponential growth. People are not giving you a high net promoter score despite a bad UX. People are not willing to prepay for things or a product that you don't even have yet. The market is not pulling product out of you, and your customers would not be livid if you took your product away, and cash is not piling up in your bank account. Then you absolutely need to do what I'm teaching you here as if you had 0 customers. The sooner you do this and let go of the idea that you're just one feature or one killer growth hack away from the breakout growth, the better. Here's what you need to do to make this work. First, let your prospects tell you what's valuable, not your intuition. Be ready to throw out any feature or functionality that doesn't pass the test that I laid out in lesson 2, no matter how much you personally love it. Be ready to throw out the whole product if you have to. Be open to the possibility that whatever you've already built could be completely off base. You might be pleasantly surprised, but if that happens, let it be exactly that, a surprise. Why is this so important? Because if you're stuck in the box of your current product, every conversation you have with your customers is going to be stuck in there with you. And with those constraints, you'll never have the freedom to figure out what your customers really want. Second, you need to recreate the relationship with your customers. Right now, your customers think of you as one thing. If you don't wipe the slate clean, when you're asking for feedback, the answers you'll get will only fit into the box they already believe about you. One of the best ways to do this is to reintroduce yourself as someone who's focused on solving their biggest problems and driving their greatest successes. That's how you create the space to find out what they really need from you. No matter which situation you're in, the next steps are the same. Let's go look at developing a sizzling one-liner. A sizzling one-liner is an exciting and provocative statement that clearly describes the problem that you're solving. This is how you attract the attention of your prospects and get them interested in speaking to you. I found that the most effective exercise to come up with your sizzling one-liner is digitalmarketer.com's before and after worksheet. Download the worksheet and take 5 minutes to answer the following questions. I'll answer them for RB2B so that you can see how it works. What do they have? Before RB2B, SaaS companies only had company-level website visitor identification. They or their reps had to guess who the person was, and it took time and energy. After RB2B, SaaS companies have person-level website identification. They know the exact person who is on their website, and they can follow up immediately. What are they feeling? Before RB2B, every rep using company-level ID is wondering who the actual person is at the company. Who cares if someone from Microsoft in Atlanta was on your site? That tells me nothing. I want to know who the person is. After RB2B, the rep is happy that they know exactly who the person from Microsoft is and the pages the person was looking at. They're relieved that they don't have to spend time researching, trying to figure out who it might have been. So what's their day look like? Before RB2B, they spent a lot of time compiling lists of cold prospects, sending cold emails that nobody responded to, wondering if something was wrong with their sequence, and fearing that they might be missing something from their company-level website visitor data. After RB2B, they can spend more time moving prospects down the funnel because they don't need to do the cold outreach, and they don't have to spend time trying to figure out who the person from Microsoft in Atlanta was. Has their status changed? Before RB2B, they were one of the million failing outbound salespeople who were afraid for their jobs and wondering if they would have to go back to school as an accountant. After RB2B, they're a member of a small tribe of early adopters who use cutting-edge tactics to get results that the traditional crowd can't even imagine. If you unlock higher status in your prospects' minds, this is an incredibly powerful weapon. Some examples: Google Certified Agency, a Soho House membership, the Inc. 5000, G2 High Performer, or Hampton, the private network for high-growth founders. Try to find the most compelling parts of the before and after worksheet to develop your sizzling one-liner. For our B2B, the biggest value is what they have before and after. Before, they could only identify anonymous visitors to the company level. After our B2B, they can get down to the person level. So our B2B's sizzling one-liner, our B2B, person-level website visitor identity. We used that one to open more than 300 discovery conversations between October of 2023 and March of 2024 when we finally launched our product. It remains the headline on our website to this day. Pro tip, your sizzling one-liner needs to be as clear, concise, and differentiated as possible. Anything but clear, concise, and differentiated will fall on deaf ears. Never be vague. Never say you're like your competitor but cheaper. The world doesn't want more of the same. Be as different as possible and be different in a way that matters. And make sure you're being as clear as you possibly can be. Now you've got your sizzling one-liner, which will get people on the phone. Once they're on the phone, you'll need to give them a quick pitch. A quick pitch is a 4-slide presentation that you can finish in under 5 minutes. Here's the structure of a quick pitch. Slide 1, your problem statement. I like figuring out how to articulate the exact problem you're solving for by using the "it sucks that blank" sentence structure. For our B2B, that statement would be, "It sucks that B2B SaaS companies can't identify website visitors down to the person level." From that statement, you can then take the "it sucks that" out and have a killer problem statement for slide number 1 of your quick pitch deck. For our B2B, ours was, B2B companies only have access to company-level website visitor identity tools, but what they really want to know is the person who visited. Slide 2, introduction. The next slide is the introduction slide. You're going to borrow heavily from your sizzling one-liner that got your prospects' attention and got them on the phone. For our B2B, ours is introducing our B2B person-level website visitor identity. Slide 3, the story. On slide 3, you'll write a 1-paragraph story that ties your company to the problem that you solve. I have a B2B SaaS company called Retention.com. For years, I've been frustrated with the account-level visitor ID solutions on the market. My sellers have to spend time researching who it might have been, and oftentimes it's someone from Microsoft in Atlanta, which is completely useless. With our B2B, our sellers know exactly who hit the site and what pages they looked at. They waste no time, and they tailor their outreach appropriately. Pro tip, memorize the story and use an image or two. Words and presentations generally don't mix. If a slide has lots of words on it, people read the slide and they stop listening to you. Best practices are to use as few words in a presentation as humanly possible. If you can memorize the story and use an image or series of images to describe your story, you'll deliver a much better presentation and have much better attention from your listeners. Slide 4, the solution and the offer. On the last slide of the presentation, you're going to recap your solution and present your offer. Keep in mind that the best indication of a strong startup idea is that people are willing to pay for the product before it exists. Any dollar amount is a strong indicator. Offer people a wildly discounted price, 90% off, some type of lifetime deal or something. And if you aren't getting any bites at all, make them a limited time free offer, but make it a requirement that they give you honest feedback over a free period at a regular cadence. For our B2B, here are some solution, offer, slide options. Option 1, to recap, our B2B will identify your website visitors at the person level. Our pricing will start at $5,000 a year, but we're giving our first 10 beta testers unlimited access for $500 total for 12 months. Option number 2, to recap, our B2B will identify your website visitors at the person level. Our pricing will start at $5,000 a year, but we're giving our first 10 beta customers free unlimited access for 90 days in exchange for regular and extensive feedback. Pro tip, do as many calls as humanly possible. The more calls you do, the better your quick pitch will get. and the more of a sense you'll get as to whether or not you should pursue this idea, and if you should, what exactly you should build. As I mentioned before, at our B2B, we did over 300 discovery calls between October and March. It resulted in 0 to 1 million in 16 weeks with 5 people and 0 ad spend. Keep in mind, this is an incredibly manual process, like the entire journey from 0 to 1 million ARR. The more calls you do, the better your quick pitch will get, and the more of a sense you'll get as to whether or not you should pursue this idea. And if you should, what exactly you should build. Once you have your sizzling one-liner and your quick pitch, you'll need to start reaching out to people and looking for beta testers and early adopters. There are many ways to find these people, and you'll need to do all of them. Pro tip, make sure you've defined an ideal customer profile. One of the biggest mistakes average founders make is they don't have a tight definition of exactly who they're trying to get to buy their product. Anybody is the worst answer. Men or women is the second worst. Developers who live in Seattle, now that is a great answer. Female 20-somethings who spend more than $250 a month on fitness is even better. Remember, the riches are in the niches, and no niche is too small if you absolutely dominate it. Outreach will always work at least 10 times better if you can get an intro to the person or they actually know you already. This is a great argument for creating a personal brand. It makes this process much easier, and it's the only reason we were able to have so many discovery calls with RB2B. Start with trying to line up 10 conversations. My channel number 1 is LinkedIn. Tactic number 1, start with your personal network on LinkedIn. See if anyone you're connected to is in your ideal customer profile. If they are, send them a direct message that says something like this. Hey, first name, I'm creating a whatever your sizzling one-liner is, and I'm building it for whatever the prospect's job and title and industry is. Would you be willing to hop on a 15-minute call and give me some feedback? Tactic 2, if you find people in your ideal customer profile who are connected to people you know, ask them for an intro and send them something along the lines of the following. Hey, person who knows prospect, I'm creating a sizzling one-liner, and I'm building it for whatever the prospect's job and title and industry is. I'd love to speak with the prospect's name about what you're building and the problem they're trying to solve. Would you mind introducing me to the prospect's name? Tactic 3, if you don't know the person and you don't have a connection, try offering them an interview for a paid advisory role. This is going to work better for a director level and below employee. VP and above probably won't take you seriously. Use this template. Hey, prospect, I'm building a sizzling one-liner for industry, companies. I'm looking for a paid advisor to help with relevant skills that prospect has. Would you be interested in talking to me about this role? So fun fact, I found my co-founder Diana Ross using this exact LinkedIn direct message template. Channel 2, cold email. Cold email is very difficult these days. Response rates are extremely low. A friend of mine, Andy Muborn, who's the founder and CEO of Distribute and a big LinkedIn influencer, has a strategy for cold email that still works. He sets up a bunch of Gmail and Microsoft inboxes and uses Instantly to do inbox rotation. He sends a 2-email sequence and he calls it the gift card play. Here's Andy's first email. Notice that his subject line is asking for feedback. Then in the actual email, he builds massive credibility in the first sentence and he uses a ton of numbers. He's asking people for their advice rather than money. And then as a PS, he's telling them that he'll give them a $100 gift card. In email number 2, he leaves the subject line blank and he writes something that I think is pretty funny. He says, if you aren't interested, you can tell me to go kick rocks. And his response rate to this is through the roof. This 2-email sequence books demos, 44 ops in 30 days prior to sharing this with me. By the way, in our community, we have a repository of hundreds of plays like Andy's. They're tactical, they work today, and they generate proven ROI for startups like yours. Channel 3, industry events. Alina Vandenberg from Chili Piper, since she was pre-revenue, went to every single industry event, found the most influential people, and approached them with a notepad explaining exactly what she planned to build. She'd ask them whether or not they'd buy her tool, and if not, why not? Then, when they said they'd buy it, she'd build it and give it to them. When it worked, these influential people would tell everybody they knew about it. She still does this same thing to this day, 9 years later. Channel 4, expert networks. I've used networks like Clarity FM, MentorPass, and MentorLoop to get on the phone with highly influential people in markets I'm looking to get into. These calls can be expensive. Sometimes they're $500 or even more, but I've always found them to be worth it. Pro tip, ask these experts for referrals. People on expert network sites know other people. Ask them at the end of the call if there's anyone else you should talk to. Channel number 5, relevant professional networks. Facebook groups, WhatsApp groups, Slack channels, events, webinars, and masterminds can be gold mines if you find the right ones. The key is to always be seeking feedback. Nobody wants to be sold to, especially in this community type environment. Some have explicit rules where you're not allowed to sell at all. Keep this in mind and proceed appropriately. In lesson 2, you got the blueprint for taking your startup to 1 million ARR using the sell before you buy 0 to 1 million framework. In lesson 3, we dove into the tactics that make the framework work. Hopefully, you've already started thinking about how to apply them to your business. But here's the deal. None of this matters if you don't take action. This framework is step by step for a reason. So don't sit on it. Start putting these pieces in motion today, systematically and with intention. All right, now that you've got the framework and the tactics locked in, I want to drop one last value bomb before we wrap this up. These are the 7 deadly startup founder mistakes. You need to avoid these like the plague. A lot of these tie back to what we've already covered, but framing them like this will help drill them deep into your brain and make them easier to remember when it counts. Mistake number 1, spending too much money on things you don't need, like an office, a salesperson or support person or anybody else, a VA to do growth stuff, an intern, expensive cameras or content production equipment, expensive software like a CRM. By the way, we use Google Sheets till 10 million ARR. Cash will get incredibly tight at some point, so don't spend money on anything before 1 million ARR. Mistake number 2, hiring anyone before 1 million ARR. You will think that you need it, but you just don't. Figure it out. Mistake number 3, copying other vendors and making it cheaper. This strategy will get you 3 to 5% of the vendor's market max. It only really works when you're 10 times cheaper or you have a massive freemium offer. Different and better is how you get product market fit. So niche down. The world is not looking for more of the same. It doesn't reward it. Mistake number 4, thinking you're an ideas guy and you can find an operator. Thinking someone else will come in and do the hard work for you at this stage is completely delusional. Get to 10 million ARR with under 10 employees, then somebody will happily do it. Mistake number 5 is not doing things that don't scale when you're still under 1 million. Don't automate anything until you answer yes to almost all of the product market fit checklist. It's going to feel horribly mundane and like you spend all day on Zoom calls. This is what the early days of a startup are like. Nothing is more highly correlated with your success than how well you navigate the discovery and product market fit process. Mistake number 6 is not posting daily on organic social media starting today. Founders who don't have audiences think, I'm not going to start, it's not going to have reach, I'm not going to get leads, I'm not going to get engagement. That's not the point. It's so that you can find your voice. Once you get content market fit, you have the world's deadliest weapon at your fingertips, organic social media and the ability to put ad spend behind what LinkedIn already thinks is a great post. Start working in public. It's another reason for people to pay attention to you, and it's an easy way to create content. Look at how I do it. Try to emulate, but do not copy what I do. Mistake number 7 is thinking you're going to be in and out in a few years. Like it or not, you signed up for a multi-decade journey. Live a lifestyle that will give you the type of endurance that you need to make it through. You know what they say? Every overnight success was 10 years in the making. I've now taught you everything I've learned from my 3 journeys from 0 to 1 million ARR. You now know how elite founders create massive companies with staggeringly high rates of success and how you can do it too. You also know the mistakes every first-time founder makes that you must avoid. The only thing left for you is to go forth and conquer. The journey will not be easy. I know it better than anyone. My first startup got stuck for more than 3 years. But if you apply what you've learned in this course and you just keep going, you will succeed to 1 million ARR, then 10 million and beyond. You cannot lose if you do not quit. Keep building. Before I get to the second part of this course, if you're running a SaaS company and you're getting website visitors, but you don't know who they are, try our B2B for free using the link below. We'll identify those anonymous visitors and we'll send their LinkedIn profiles straight to your Slack so you can convert them into leads and then customers. You can start using it for free by clicking the link below. No credit card required. Now let's get back to the course. Every SaaS founder should have one goal and one goal only: to bootstrap 10 million ARR. Why? Because if you can bootstrap 10 million ARR, you will have made it on every metric and you can do literally whatever you want with your life. When you bootstrap 10 million ARR, you can either sell your business that day and become independently wealthy, or you can hire a CEO to run it for you, or you can keep bootstrapping and pay yourself millions of dollars every year. Yet only a handful of people have actually done it. Why? There's 2 main reasons. Reason number 1 is founders think they need more resources than they do. Everybody thinks they need 10 times more resources to get to 10 million ARR, people, product, and budget than they actually do. So they go raise money, spend it irresponsibly, and then they're back at the same spot 18 months later. Reason number 2, VCs inevitably come in and ruin everything. The second you start getting real traction, the VC establishment shows up and starts throwing money at you, telling you that if you take it, you'll be worth tens of millions of dollars. This is one of the biggest, yet most effective, lies that has ever been told. You're not worth a penny until you either sell your company or pay yourself dividends. Both of these traps turn founders otherwise destined for total liberation of 10 million ARR bootstrapped into overworked, underpaid employees of a new boss, their investors, until there is, or in almost all cases there isn't, an exit. I'm Adam Robinson, founder and CEO of Retention.com and RB2B. I bootstrapped Retention.com from 1 to 10 million ARR in 27 months with just 6 people, and I'm doing it even faster today with a totally different product and go-to-market strategy with RB2B. I'm going to teach you the strategies, tactics, and most importantly, the mindset that I've used to create these 8-figure businesses with tiny teams. If you're between 1 and 10 million ARR, you're either stuck or you have traction. I've spent many years in both places. If you're stuck, I'm going to teach you exactly the steps I go through to get unstuck. If you have traction, I'm going to teach you how to hire the right team, focus on fewer things, and create an inbound-led outbound machine, and how to avoid taking life-ruining venture capital. As a startup founder, bootstrapping 10 million ARR is the equivalent of reaching the promised land. I know it's possible because I've done it before and I'm literally doing it again right now. You can do it too, and it's in this course. I'm going to show you how. Let's get into it. In October 2022, I made the call to nearly 10x the number of employees at Retention.com. The business had been growing so well that I thought I had a unicorn on my hands, and I wanted to hit that status as fast as possible. I hired 50 people in under 60 days, and it was the worst decision I ever made as an entrepreneur. Let me tell you why. At the time, Retention.com was doing almost 12 million ARR with just 6 full-time employees. But in my mind, it was time to pour gas on the fire. I was so blinded by ambition that I publicly declared we hit a $1 billion valuation, and I even made a docuseries about it. But here's what I learned the hard way. Adding more people, especially expensive VPs and execs, does not speed you up. It literally just makes everything harder. With all those new hires on board, the company that had been cranking out $2 million of revenue per employee was now eviscerating capital. And to top it off, The fancy go-to-market playbook that this new team brought in, it just wasn't working at all. After 6 months, it got so bad that my VP of sales quit when he realized the plan that we were following wasn't delivering. We ended up letting go of 16 of our 20 salespeople and didn't even bother replacing the VP. I became the most hated CEO on Glassdoor, all because I lost my religion for 1 minute. I stopped acting like a bootstrapper and I started trying to scale like Mark Zuckerberg. In less than a year, we'd completely disfigured my business. It was sickening. Here's something I fundamentally do not understand. Tech companies are given the opportunity to, and are expected to, burn money, while almost no other industry is allowed to. Here's what makes no sense to me about it. We sell air. Literally. It's so much less expensive to create and distribute another copy of software than any other product in the world. Yet, as an industry, we tech founders have the lowest standards for what an acceptable business looks like. So, you're allowed to burn money. Does that mean you should? All content on building successful SaaS startups is written by people who are deep inside this belief system. And everything they teach keeps passing down these sloppy low standards. For example, Jason Lemkin, the most prominent blogger about SaaS, thinks you should have 50 employees at 10 million ARR. I think you should have 10 max, ideally 6, just like we did at retention.com when we were at 12 million ARR. I know this kind of productivity and efficiency is possible, not just for me, but for you too. And I'm proving it again today with RB2B. This isn't a fluke. There are principles that can get you to the same outcomes. Have you ever heard of Roger Bannister? For over 100 years, people believed that running a mile in under 4 minutes was humanly impossible. Then Roger broke the 4-minute mile. Less than 2 months later, a second person did it. Then 3 more people broke it in a single race, and within a year, 24 total people had done what was previously thought impossible. Once someone did it, others saw that it was possible and did it too. So let me be your Roger Bannister, and let 10 million ARR with 6 people be your 4-minute mile. You can hit 10 million ARR, lean and bootstrapped, and it will change everything about your life the day that you do. Let's keep going, and I'll show you how. So what's the number one problem in today's startup world? It's pipeline. And it's not just you. Big companies, small startups, everyone's feeling it. Why? It's because the traditional channels that early stage startups rely on to build pipeline have been completely destroyed. Cold outbound, it's dead. If you've been trying to build pipeline using cold outbound, you already know what I'm talking about. It was always tough, but now it's even worse. There are 3 major reasons why those outbound channels have turned into dead zones. Reason number 1 is demand for subscription software is at a cyclical low, so there's just less buyers. Number 2 is a surge of software startups are all fighting over the same prospects, meaning there's more sellers. And then reason number 3 is the biggest reason. Automated tools and AI have exponentially increased outbound volume, which has been countered by spam filters locking inboxes down. So your customers aren't just ignoring cold outreach anymore, they're not even seeing it. I learned this the hard way at retention.com when I hired 50 people I mentioned earlier. We took our SDR team from 1 to 5, and I thought 5 times as many SDRs meant 5 times the meetings booked. But that was not the case. The SDR team that used to book 1 meeting per week still booked 1 meeting per week. That's when I realized something huge. These SDRs don't create demand. They were only capturing demand created elsewhere. And that's where my proven inbound-led outbound framework, which I used to grow RB2B from 0 to 3 million ARR in just 6 months, becomes your secret weapon. Not just for building pipeline, but for closing it with a small, super efficient team. Here's how the inbound-led outbound framework works. Step 1, drive inbound traffic to your site. You drive demand through LinkedIn and other social media channels, podcasts, partnerships, in real life or digital events, SEO, wherever your prospects are. Step 2, identify website visitors. RB2B identifies the people hitting your website, not just the companies, but the actual people, and it gives you their contact info so you can reach out immediately. Step 3, retarget site visitors across channels. Set up workflows triggered by first-time and repeat website visitors that connect with them over email, LinkedIn, and if you use the phone, call them on the phone. Step 4, focus sales on the bottom of the funnel. Have 90% fewer sales resources focused entirely on people who are ready to buy. If you implement this proven 4-step inbound lead outbound framework, you will see number 1, ultra low customer acquisition cost. Number 2, 50% higher close rates. Number 3, 2/3 shorter sales cycles. And number 4, more deals closed by 10 to 20% of the reps. What's the secret to the inbound lead outbound framework? You must focus on scaling up original sources of demand. The podcast appearances, in real life events, organic social media. This is more difficult than it sounds because we tend to scale up what we can measure, like I did with BDRs, and we can't really measure most original sources of demand. How do you measure the impact of a guest slot on a podcast? How do you measure an organic social post with no call to action? How do you measure the business impact of something else posting about you online? You really can't. But the key to inbound lead outbound is how you scale these things even though they can't be measured, knowing that they are directionally correct and are creating original demand. That's how you hit 10 million ARR with just 6 employees. And that's all I'm going to say about inbound lead outbound in this course for now. I've got a whole other course that's dedicated to executing this revolutionary approach, but I wanted to give you enough so that you understand exactly how I'm building hyper-efficient companies that hit 10 million ARR with just 6 employees. Smaller teams that are laser focused on fewer things get far more done, can move much faster, and the founders can have a better work-life balance. All things you want in your startup. Am I right? Let's look at how you spend your week as the founder of a 6-man team. You spend 5 days per week doing one of the following things: talking to customers, selling, talking to your CTO about prioritization, creating massive awareness via demand creation activities, and possibly answering support tickets to stay close to the customer. Check out that list and take note. You're spending 100% of your time making your product and go-to-market better and better. This allows you to iterate at breakneck speed. You can hang it up at 5 p.m. every day if you want to, like my Retention.com co-founder Diana and I did, as we scaled up to 12 million ARR with 4 other people. Also, neither of us work weekends. You'll probably still think about your business in the shower, and I know I do. But importantly, fewer people means you have fewer things to do. That means fewer people-related fire drills. On the other hand, here's how you spend your week with a 25-person team that's growing. You do 1 full day per week internal meetings, and that's just so you understand what people are doing. 1 to 2 days per week are doing interviews and dealing with investors so you can keep growing this headcount. You only spend 2 days per week selling, working on your product, talking to your CTO, and creating awareness. Think about that. As the person who is best at improving your product and go to market, you waste 60% of your time not doing those things. You spend your time trying to figure out people problems internally rather than talking to customers and listening to their pain. Things that took 2 hours at 1 million ARR with 2 people now take 2 weeks. I know this for a fact because ever since we 10x the size of the company, this has been my experience at Retention.com. This is not my life at RB2B because I learned these lessons the hard way, and I am committed to never doing that again. Now, just to be clear, I am not saying don't hire people. I am saying do not hire anyone until 1 million ARR and keep your team extremely small and lean up until 10. If the only thing you took away from this course was a deep understanding and conviction in this one principle, it would be worth the price you paid. Finally, here are the metrics you should care about when you're growing a small, efficient team. ARR per employee, monthly growth rates, customer acquisition payback period, and keep it as low as possible, maybe even immediate, your churn rates, and last but not least, profitability. Let's talk about why you should want to bootstrap 10 million ARR. Yep, sounds great on paper, and you can probably guess a few reasons why it's the right move. But here's the deal. I've done it before, and I'm on track to do it again. So let me break down exactly why this is a path that you should commit to if you want the best results as a founder. Number 1, you and your co-founder will be making over $1 million a year in salary and dividends. This is simple math and another benefit of a small, efficient team. You and your co-founder can easily clear $1 million each at 10 million ARR and probably more. With VC money, You have to be much, much larger before you can take home that kind of money, and it will be years later if it ever happens. Number 2, you could sell your business immediately for at least $40 to $50 million, maybe more. Well, with VC money, it's not about the paycheck, it's about the exit, right? You might be thinking that, and yeah, that is true. The VC playbook is all about that exit. We'll talk about that in a bit, but for now, let me just say that bootstrapping 10 million ARR, you'll be able to sell your company at 4 to 5 times revenue, and you'll walk away with 40 to 50 million bucks. And unlike the unicorns, there are thousands of buyers for a profitable 10 million ARR company. Number 3, you can hire a CEO to run your company and you can work 1 hour per week. If you want to step back and keep taking that paycheck and let someone else continue growing the company, you can. Number 4, you can work 100 hours per week and run yourself into the ground if that's your thing. Once you hit 10 million ARR, you can keep working as hard as you want to on it. Retention.com is over 20 million ARR at the time of this recording, and I don't work 100 hours a week, but I could if I wanted to, and the company would probably grow faster if I did. Number 5, you can go raise 50 million bucks in 1 second and build a unicorn. Even if you're still set on the VC route because you're in love with the idea of building a unicorn, do not take VC money before you hit 10 million ARR. Here's why. You'll end up giving away way too much equity, and the VCs will be the ones calling the shots. You'll be reduced to an employee at the company that you started. But if you wait till you hit 10 million ARR with strong profits, the game changes completely. You'll walk into that room with way more leverage, you'll sell less equity, and your long-term outcomes will look a whole lot better. Number 6, you can keep running it lean for a couple years and get to 25 million ARR with just 25 people and pay yourself $10 to $15 million per year. Now, this is exactly where I would have ended up had I not hired those 50 people. We still have a shot at getting there, but I made things a whole lot harder for myself. By ditching the lean bootstrappers playbook, I probably pushed that outcome back by a few years. The options available to you at 10 million ARR are just so good. That's why I'm so committed to sharing this message. There's nothing like this on the VC funded path. If you take VC money when you have traction, you'll be underpaid, strapped for cash, and there's only one way to win. It's an exit. And here's the harsh reality. Most companies never get there. You've got these companies you look up to right now, valued at billions, making headlines, but those founders, a lot of them are never going to see an exit, especially after all that changed in 2023. And that's the lucky 1% that even made it that far. Forget about the other 99%. So where does that leave you if you take the VC route? Probably working for a couple $100,000 a year, reporting to your bosses on the board, and no idea whether the 8-figure valuation company is ever going to pay off for you personally. Your probability-weighted financial outcome is much higher bootstrapping. Everybody says that growth is worth 3 to 10 times profitability in SaaS. This is completely untrue from the founder's perspective. In order to monetize that growth multiplier, you must actually get to an incredibly low probability exit, so you have to discount that 3 to 10 times by, I think, 80 to 90%. If you do that, profitability is actually worth much more. You can make more money along the way, you've got a better shot at an exit, and you're in control the entire time, meaning you get to make decisions that serve your financial goals, not the goals of the investors who see you as just one company in a big portfolio. Your happiness outcome, controlling your own destiny, that's priceless. That's why you really got in the game, right? It's because you wanted to be your own boss, you wanted to create your own outcomes, and use your skills and talents in the way that you thought best. Well, then don't trade your freedom for the cage of VC funding and their mandatory playbook. If you took the 0 to 1 million course, you know that the journey to 1 million ARR is all about finding product market fit. If you're stuck somewhere between 1 and 10 million ARR, it's because you have an issue with that product market fit. If you hit an issue with product market fit and you're too big, you're in trouble. You'll be too far away from the customer, and you'll be spending all of your time in internal meetings trying to get answers, trying to distinguish the signal from the noise. The highest probability way to solve this is to stay incredibly lean and iterate as fast as possible until product market fit clicks and you get traction. If you're already in this predicament of being too big and having a product market fit issue, then my advice to you is get lean. Let go of as many people as possible. Retain only the absolute necessary functions to get back to product market fit. For all of the reasons I've talked about, a lean team will allow you to move quickly to find product market fit again. A large team will suck up all of your time, slow down decision-making, and keep you stuck. I'd like to make a public service announcement right now. Do not raise money to get unstuck. It's tempting when you're staring at competitors, thinking the only way out is to raise funds. But then you're forced to hire teams of salespeople, marketers, and managers, and you have to manage them, and you'll be heading in the exact opposite direction to the solution. The answer is to simplify, to cut out as much complexity in team members as possible. Talk to your customers and iterate fast to regain product market fit. If you do not do that, you'll be spending money on channels that are only sort of working, hoping that it's going to accelerate your growth. It will not. You will regret it. I did. If you wait, you'll end up firing most of the people that you hired, and you'll burn through money and your business will be in the worse spot than it was before. All you'll have left is a new set of bosses and a business in worse shape than when you started. Now that you've learned how not to respond to being stuck, let's talk about the real strategies for getting back to product market fit. There's only a few ways to do it. You've got to find product market fit again using one of these strategies. Strategy number 1 is going all in on your lowest churn segment. Strategy number 2 is to talk to every single churn case. And strategy number 3 is to just throw spaghetti against the wall. Now let's take a deep dive into these strategies for getting unstuck. Strategy number 1, go all in on your lowest churn segment. Start with this strategy. Look at your customers by persona. Hopefully you've got meaningful segmentation in your customer base. Which one has the lowest churn? Is there a signal in the data that shows a certain type of customer has significantly lower churn than others? If you don't have good segmentation, create it. Look at your lowest churn customers and figure out what they all have in common and define your lowest churn segment from that. If you can identify a segment with significantly lower churn, go all in on them. That's your new ICP. Stop giving demos to anyone who is not in that ideal customer profile. Think about it. If you keep giving demos to the wrong segments, they're just going to churn. You'll be spending money to fill a leaky bucket. This is difficult, but every company who does it crushes. This tactic alone took retention.com from 12 million to 23 million ARR. And it's not just about demos. Once you've nailed down that segment, focus every ounce of energy in your company on that ideal customer profile. That means your entire go-to-market strategy and product development. If someone outside the ideal customer profile wants anything, ignore it. Turn down revenue. This is very difficult, but it's necessary if you want to find true product market fit. Only spend money to acquire that ideal customer profile. Only research the pain and needs of that ICP. Only spend money to develop your product for that ICP. For retention.com, this segment was Shopify Plus stores. When we developed a laser focus on this segment, we got unstuck and unlocked new growth fast. Strategy number 2, solve broad churn problems. There's a few tactics grouped here in strategy number 2. You can use this along with strategy number 1, but if you don't get a meaningful signal from that, this is your next step. Here's the key question. Are your top of funnel metrics and close rates solid, but your churn rate is horrible? If that sounds like you, here's what to do next. Number 1, talk to every single churn case. Make this your personal job and make it a requirement that these customers speak to you, not someone on your team. They'll do it because they'll respect that the request is coming from you, the founder. My friend Alina Vandenberg, the CEO of Chili Piper, still 9 years in at 30 million ARR, emails every single churn customer and says, I would really, really, really love to know what you hate about our product and why you're churned. I recently started sending this same email out and the response rate is through the roof. You should send this email too. Here are the types of questions you should ask when someone churns if you can get them to get on a call. So why did you churn? How are you using the product? Did you replace our product? Or did you just stop using it? Would you keep using our product if it were cheaper? Could we add any features that would get you to stay? How often were you using the product? And speak to as many people as possible. The second thing to do is explore adjacent features you could add. Do this in your churn conversations and in conversations with your customers who aren't churning. You should be having these talks as often as possible. Here's what you're looking for. Are there 1 to 3 features that could go live in the next few months? The team at Clearbit told me that a 3-feature customer reduced churn by 75% compared to a 1-feature customer. Last but not least, move up market for a lower churn buyer persona. Think about doing larger deals with a larger customer segment. Larger deals are usually a bit more complicated, so that's something to consider, but sometimes they're not, and they're always lower churn, so that alone will get you moving again. Strategy 3, you run an experiment. You move to strategy 3 when you can't identify a low churn segment to focus on, but you've got the bandwidth to run experiments as you've figured out how to stop people from churning. You're doing your best to reduce churn, but the results aren't there. You're not getting a clear consensus from your customers on what they want. And going up market just isn't cutting it. In these cases, it's time to infuse your product with some new energy. Take bold steps based upon your insights from conversations in strategy number 2. Even if customers don't hand you a clear roadmap, there's valuable gold hidden inside those conversations, ideas that can spark new innovation. These should be bold experiments that come with low long-term costs but are designed to maximize the spotlight about what makes you different. You can experiment with pricing, features, or targeting new segments. For Apollo.io, switching from their $15,000 annual deal to a freemium model was the experiment that changed literally everything. For Get Emails, it was the rebrand to retention.com and adding key features that we knew would work on the Shopify Plus segment because upmarket vendors were already doing it. There's no shortcut to getting unstuck. It's the story of every entrepreneur's journey. But I hope these strategies have given you enough of a framework to see where you're at and to take action that will get you moving in the right direction as quickly as possible. So here's a hot take. I believe you should get to 1 million ARR hiring no one. I'm assuming you have a co-founder and one of you is a business type and the other is a technical co-founder. If you don't have a technical co-founder, you'll need to go hire one engineer, but that's it. And it would be helpful if they were actually your co-founder. Do what Klaviyo did, just the founders, one engineer, one business guy. And as I taught you in the last lesson, if you're stuck above 1 million ARR, you should shrink your team to just the founders plus 1 to 2 people. Once you're unstuck and gaining traction, continue to be unreasonably lean and grow your team to 5 to 7 core members. Now I'm going to walk you through my 4 principles of effective hiring for 10 million ARR. If you follow these principles, not only will your life be easier, but your company will grow faster and be more profitable when you hit 10 million because you'll be leaner, more profitable, and way more efficient. Principle 1, hire people, not teams. When you hire teams, you add a management layer that reduces your overall velocity by up to 75%. You want to avoid that. Nowhere is this more true than in engineering. Don't hire an engineering team. Your productivity will go to 0. What do you do instead? Principle number 2, you hire experienced and highly productive individual contributors. Hire these people in areas you want to take off your plate. 5+ years of experience in each role is my recommendation. Pro tip, these don't have to be people who live near you and come to the office every day. There are very talented people overseas who speak great English who will save you tons of money. Check out wellfound.com. Look in Eastern Europe, Brazil, Colombia, Argentina. Canada is actually very similar culturally to the US and is at least 30% cheaper. Another piece of advice, we've hired almost all of our employees using LinkedIn job ads. Don't use an expensive recruiter. It's a waste of time and money. Also, post about it on your organic social. You never know what might come from it. Plus, it's a perfect content topic that ties right into a work in public pillar. I'd even put a We're Hiring link in your email footer and connect to a careers page that has all of your job listings. You send tons of emails to tons of people. Who knows who's going to click through? Principle number 3 is what you should focus on personally. If you're the business side co-founder, you should handle the traditional product role and then either sales or marketing until 10 million. If you're the technical co-founder, focus on building while speaking to as many customers as possible. If you want to stop doing sales and you have good demand generation and strong word of mouth, hire someone to smash out demos. That salesperson will likely be more productive with the sales assistant to do all the admin and follow-up work. This salesperson will be focused on the bottom of the funnel and highly productive using inbound led outbound. Depending on the demand creation channels that you've decided to go all in on, which we'll talk about in the next section, you may need a marketing manager, someone in partnerships, or possibly a community builder or community manager. Hiring a customer support or customer success rep to answer tickets to start improving your self-serve documentation is a must. Principle number 4, use contractors and agencies. For everything that isn't a core competency, you can use contractors or agencies. This will keep your costs lower and allow you to move more quickly. Principle number 5, hire unreasonably slow, fire unreasonably fast. Hire only when it hurts so bad that you're in extreme pain. Hold off and find a way to make things work until that point. This will ensure that you don't get bloated by hiring for something that was only a temporary need. On the flip side, fire the second you are sure that a person isn't right for the role. Holding on is only going to make the problem worse. Firing quickly is one of the most important skills you can develop as a founder. Hardly anybody does it. Here's how to fire people. Be totally definitive. Take the blame. You mishired them for the role. Be kind. Do not emphasize the negative. And most importantly, try to find them another role. Firing people is the worst part of the job, but you will get a tremendous amount of relief when you've done it, and you'll never feel the stress of having the wrong person in the wrong role again. Just so you have it as an example, here's our org chart that got us 12 million ARR. As you can see, I'm at the top, and then Diana Ross was running sales with a sales assistant, and Clint helping her out in onboarding. Tate was building everything, and the only other person in our entire organization was Anne, who was answering all the customer support tickets and then helping determine product direction. By being this small, we moved lightning fast, we were forced to concentrate only on what mattered, and we were hyper profitable up until 10 million ARR. I have a separate in-depth course about this, so I'll keep this brief. When you follow the playbook that I've been teaching you to bootstrap 10 million ARR, you have the luxury of spending as much time on true demand creation activities as possible. Demand is not created by BDRs. It's created by activities like organic social, user-generated content, partnerships, live and virtual events, podcast appearances, keynote speeches, prospect dinners, and industry events. Double down on 2 to 3 of these channels and give them your whole work life. Here's another way to think about demand creation. It's simply creating website visits. How? On LinkedIn, there's posting, connecting, and commenting. This is awareness and community. I have another course specifically on LinkedIn strategy that will teach you the detailed tactics for demand creation on LinkedIn. LinkedIn thought leadership ads. This is an incredibly cheap source of clicks. You can take your best performing post and put some small ad spend behind them to reach new people and grow your audience. You can create other organic social content on other channels besides LinkedIn. Organic social is the ultimate superpower of 2024, and I don't see that slowing down anytime soon. Podcast guest slots booked on matchmaker.fm. This service will match you with podcast hosts who are looking for guests. It's a great way to get exposure to new people and grow your audience. User-generated content campaigns. These work best when the poster has incentive to post. If you're going to do it, make sure you've designed a strong incentive structure. Influencer campaigns. Influencers have been a colossal distribution channel on the consumer side for almost a decade. Now it's coming to B2B. Pairing up with the right influencers to push your message is a fantastic way to get in front of a new audience. It can be expensive, but they're awesome if you can nail it. Email newsletters. You can make a weekly summary with top content and product updates. You can capture email addresses from organic social on your website and signups to your product. You can also grow your list through joint venture webinars, and those are great because you'll get the full attendee list and grow your audience by a whole lot all at once. In-person or digital events. This is my personal favorite. We're doing a weekly live digital event that's pulling 600 to 1,000 signups and 200 to 350 people each week. We invite guests, and the cross-promotion from those guests pulls new audience into our world. This is very top of funnel, so we don't have conversion metrics yet, but it's building our super fan base. How do we know? because 66% of the attendees are repeat visitors week over week. Any type of event that you can run to grow your list, which grows your exposure, which then in turn increases your website traffic, is running the inbound-led outbound playbook effectively. Partnerships. Partners provide a lot of opportunity for you to gain attention and convert that attention into traffic. The actual tactics could be anything you can come up with. Some standard ones are guest newsletter posts, joint venture events, joint venture products or offers, or coordinated organic posts. Create a signal through a LinkedIn Live event. You can create a LinkedIn Live event and make the title distinct pain that your buyer's feeling. You can then put $10 a day of ad spend behind it and get it in front of your ideal customer profile. You then can use this app called Phantom Buster, get their contact information, and then reach out to them. Once you've created the demand with these activities, salespeople should conduct outbound only to the prospects who showed intent by visiting your website. This is where the magic of RB2B comes in. It identifies your site visitors to tell you exactly who hit your site and how to contact them. When you get that list of leads, start off by filtering by ideal customer profile. And for those in your ideal customer profile, connect with them on LinkedIn and add them to your basic email prospecting flow. This may sound a little funny to say, but I know every founder in this room has either tried and failed to raise VC money or knows other founders that have. It's crazy, right? Companies throw a party every time they raise funds like it's something to celebrate, when really it's more of a funeral. Sure, raising money is hard in the early stages, but the second you get real traction, like say hitting 5 million ARR fast, those same VCs will be knocking on your door begging you to take their money. And here's the thing, their tactics are simple. They're basic, but man, they are effective. I'm going to lay them out for you right now so you'll know exactly how to resist them. Number one is the imaginary wealth effect. They'll tell you, just sign this piece of paper and boom, you're worth 50 million bucks. It's a lie. You're not worth more money because you take VC money. That's just a valuation based upon some optimistic projection of future growth. Don't believe me? Go back and look at most companies that took funding before 2023. They're nowhere near those crazy valuations anymore. Number two, they get you thinking bigger with go-to-market help and speed to scale. VCs will tell you, with our help, your company's going to grow faster than it ever could have on its own. But here's the truth. You take their money, they'll roll out their playbook, the same one that recretention.com, and you'll watch that cash get burned up. Inefficiency goes through the roof. You'll hire people who don't make sense for your business, and suddenly everything that used to work just gets harder. Number three, the we're your friend lie. VCs are not your friend. Sure, you'll probably hear about founders having good relationships with their VC boards, but let's be real. Their incentives are not aligned with yours. The whole VC industry, it's designed to create wealth for investors by putting all the risk on you. They leverage your dreams, your work ethic, and your willingness to take insane risks. Venture capitalists, they're not in a risky business, you are. And if you take their money, you just made your business even riskier. Worse yet, any payoff from that risk is now being split with them. The best policy is not to talk to any investor until you hit 10 million ARR. At that point, you'll have far more leverage as someone paying themselves $1 million a year than you do today. You've just learned exactly what I learned from bootstrappingretention.com to 10 million ARR and beyond. It's also what I'm doing to bootstrap RB2B even faster. I've taught you things that the startup world in general just doesn't tell you. If you do what I've taught you, your odds of success and happiness with your startup are much higher. The only thing that is left is for you to go out there and actually do it. Stay lean for far longer than anyone else thinks is reasonable. Don't even speak with investors until you're well beyond 10 million ARR. If you can just do those two things, your life will be everything that you dreamed it would be when you set out on this journey. It's up to you. Keep building. Now, if you're building a SaaS company and you're getting site traffic, but you're not converting enough of these visitors into customers, you need to start identifying who's actually visiting your site. And that's exactly what our B2B does. We identify 70 to 80% of your anonymous website visitors at the person level and ping their LinkedIn profiles directly to your Slack, completely free forever. Just click the first link in the description to try our B2B for free, no credit card required, and you'll start identifying your website visitors in minutes. And if you want to see how I used AI to completely automate our B2B when it was a 6 million ARR SaaS company, make sure to watch this video next.